The blast door on the long-abandoned underground facility was ripped off its rusted hinges, revealing a dirty human skull with a jagged hole blown through the forehead. Craig Miller stared at the grim discovery as he led his 5-man team of ex-Navy SEALs inside the cavernous bunker. The Eddosian scientist Pixis chittered nervously behind them. The Zorgons already breached this place, didn't they? Damn aliens must know about the human super-soldier tech stashed here and want it for themselves, Craig said grimly, hefting his plasma rifle. Mac, the wisecracking Scottish sniper, piped up. Looks like someone already blew these blokes' brains out. What's so bloody special about this dump again? Craig scanned his flashlight around the dusty atrium, illuminating rows of shattered clone tanks. This facility is all that's left of humanity's most classified military research program. The brilliant Dr. Kavita Singh spliced elite commando genes into embryos, accelerated their growth, and enhanced them with nanotech to create superhuman warriors, until a psychotic test subject broke loose and slaughtered everyone 70 years ago. Gunner, the hulking weapons specialist, tensed his grip on a heavy chain gun. Why the hell are we helping squids uncover this mad scientist shit? Pixis's head fins quivered. These super soldiers could turn the tide in our war against the Zorgons. My species will pay you richly for the data. And your buddies will get their tentacles on it over my dead body, Razor snarled, cocking a shotgun. The hothead Hispanic was always spoiling for a fight. Craig held up a fist. Voices echoed from deeper in the shadowy complex. Cut the chatter, people. Zorgons incoming. We're getting that intel to stick it to those alien assholes conquering our colonies. Ura! Ura! His men chorused. Rapid plasma blasts streaked from the darkness. A sizzling bolt punched through Razor's helmet. He crumpled with a gurgle, half his skull vaporized. Gunner opened up with the chain gun, its muzzle flashing like hellish lightning. Let's send these ET fucks to meet their maker. Pixis shrieked as a hulking reptilian Zorgon in spiked armor emerged behind him, wrapped a beefy arm around his neck, and dragged him away. Damn it, they got the squid, Smoke yelled, popping up to shoot the alien in the face. Purple ichor splattered. No one's dying on my watch, Ace roared. Charging into a storm of plasma, Craig knew this mission would either secure humanity's future against the Zorgons, or end with their fried corpses rotting beside the failed super-soldiers in this hellish tomb. With Razor dead and Pixis captured, Craig knew they had to get the hell out of this death trap. He pulled a plasma grenade from his belt and lobbed it down the hallway, buying them a few precious seconds. Fall back. We'll cut through the armory and grab the research data on our way out. Gunner laid down suppressing fire as they sprinted through the twisting corridors, the staccato bark of his chain gun echoing off the metal walls. Smoke kicked open the armory door, and they piled inside, sealing it shut behind them. Mac whistled as he eyed the racks of experimental weapons. It's like a bloody candy shop in here. He grabbed a sleek plasma rifle and tossed it to Ace. Craig located a cryo container holding vials of neon blue liquid, the super soldier serum. He shoved it into his pack along with a data drive from the mainframe. That's our golden ticket, boys. Let's move. They blasted their way to the hangar, Zorgon bodies piling up in their wake. A bug-like scout ship sat unattended. Craig hacked the controls and they piled in, rocketing out of the facility as it collapsed behind them. Where to now, boss? Ace asked, nursing a plasma burn on his shoulder. Craig punched in coordinates. The Eddosian colony of New Aranos. We need to regroup and save Pixis before the Zorgons rip the info out of him. The scout ship streaked through the void towards New Aranos, only to find a nightmarish scene unfolding. A massive Zorgon fleet hammered the colony with plasma bombardment, alien dropships disgorging hordes of troops to slaughter the defenders. Shit, they're getting overrun! Smoke cursed as Eddosian fighters swirled and exploded around the flagship. Craig spotted an angular gunship rising to meet them, Commander Raxus. Attention, humans! Our defenses are crumbling. I pray you have the super soldier files. We need that edge to turn this battle. Land in Hangar 12 so we can plan our counterattack. As they docked, the hangar shook with explosions. Eddosian soldiers rushed about in barely controlled chaos. Craig and his men piled out to meet Raxus, the commander's face etched with worry. "The files, do you have them?" Raxus demanded. Craig held up the cryo-container and data drive. "Right here. But your science shit can wait. We need to rescue Pixis from that Zorgon flagship. My guess is they're working him over for the same info." Raxus nodded grimly. "Agreed, I can spare a squad of my best troops for a boarding action. If we can knock out the flagship, the fleet will fall into disarray. It's our only chance." As Idosian engineers huddled around the super soldier Data, Craig and his men geared up alongside the alien commandos. Gunner hefted a modified chain gun with a fierce grin. "Let's give 'em hell." Using stolen armor and codes, they slipped aboard a Zorgon transport and rocketed towards the looming flagship. As they entered the hangar, a savage firefight erupted. Plasma bolts crisscrossed the deck, and Zorgon bodies hit the floor. Craig and Raxus fought side by side, cutting down aliens with precise shots. Mac perched on a fuel container, picking off Zorgons with his sniper rifle. "I've got 15 kills already. Try and keep up, you wankers." Gunner waded into the fray, his chain gun spitting death. Scales and purple blood flew as he mowed down the aliens. "Come get some, you goddamn space lizards!" As the team battled through the ship, Smoke and Ace peeled off to hack the security systems. "Okay, I've got Pixis's location, Detention Block 4A, Smoke reported over comms, and it looks like the reactor core powers the weapons. Give me a few minutes and I can cause one hell of a meltdown." Craig, Raxus, and the remaining soldiers blasted their way to the detention block, leaving piles of Zorgon dead in their wake. Craig kicked open the cell door and froze. General Zar stood over a brutalized Pixis, his armor gleaming with cruel implants. The hulking Zorgon warlord grinned, razor teeth flashing. "Welcome, humans. You're just in time to watch your friend die." Raxus roared in fury and charged, only for Zar to seize him by the throat and snap his neck with a sickening crack. Craig saw red. He pulled the cryo-container from his pack, grabbed a vial and jammed the needle into his neck. Icy fire raced through his veins as the serum took hold. His muscles bulged with newfound power. "All right, asshole," Craig snarled. "Let's dance." He launched himself at Zar in a superhuman blur. The Zorgon met his charge with a bellowing war cry. They traded earth-shattering blows, fists cracking armor and flesh. Zar's implants made him monstrously strong and fast, but Craig was more than human now. Pinning Zar against the wall, Craig pummeled his face into a shattered mess. "This is for Razor, you son of a bitch." He grabbed the alien's head and wrenched with all his might. Vertebrae popped, and Zar went limp. Craig hurled the corpse aside and limped to Pix's side. "Hang on, Squid, we're getting you out of here." "The files," Pixis croaked. "Did you get them?" "Yeah, we got 'em. Your pops, he didn't make it." Before Pixis could respond, Smoke's voice crackled over the comms. "Guys, I've set the reactor to blow in 5 minutes. Get to the hangar now." Slinging Pixis over his shoulder, Craig and the survivors sprinted for the scout ship. Zorgon reinforcements flooded the corridors. The humans cut them down in sprays of blood and gore, piling into the ship and rocketing away. The flagship vanished in a blinding flash as the reactor detonated. Cheers erupted as Idosian ships blasted the disorganized Zorgons apart. Craig watched through the viewport, exhausted, as a chunk of flaming hull tumbled past. They had struck a crippling blow to the Zorgons. The battle was won, but the war for humanity's future was just beginning. Idosian fighter craft swarmed the battered Zorgon flagship as Craig's stolen scout ship streaked towards the glittering spires of New Aranos. The human mercenary grimaced as medics fussed over Pixis's wounds. He felt the icy fire of the super soldier serum still burning through his veins. His senses and reflexes cranked to superhuman levels. As they landed, cheering crowds of Idosians thronged the shuttle. Craig and his battered team emerged to a hero's welcome. Gunner grinned and flexed his biceps for the crowd. Mac rolled his eyes. "You're letting it go to your head, you big lummox." Commander Raxus pushed through the crowd, his face grave. He clasped Craig's hand. "I cannot thank you enough for rescuing my son, but there's no time to rest. The files you recovered point to something called Project Prometheus, a hidden human colony that houses the source of the super soldier program. Craig frowned. I thought that hellhole we raided was the last of it. So did we, but there's more. Raxus brought up a star map. Prometheus is located out in the Erebus sector. It's remained hidden from the Zorgans for decades. Pixis, limping up to them, nodded. My people have long heard rumors of a human enclave beyond the frontier. I believe Prometheus may hold the secret to defeating the Zorgans once and for all. Craig flexed his fist, still marveling at his enhanced strength. All right, we'll assemble an expedition, human and Idosian. With the intel and tech we've got now, we might just stand a chance. Raxus clasped Craig's shoulder. I'll give you my best troops and scientists. Work with Pixis to unravel the mysteries of the super soldier serum. If we can unlock its potential, then let's get to it. Craig turned to his men. Saddle up, boys, we're going hunting. The Joint Strike Force assembled swiftly. Alongside Craig's surviving bastards, a dozen Idosian commandos and science officers boarded a sleek frigate. Pixis, still recovering, joined the ship's medical team to study the serum coursing through Craig's body. As they plunged into the void towards the Erebus sector, danger dogged their every parsec. Zorgan patrol ships harried them like wolves. Asteroid fields and ionic storms forced them to take treacherous detours. Through it all, Craig's team fought with grim determination. Gunner manned the ship's turrets, his chain gun retrofitted to spew plasma. I'm painting my armor with Zorgan blood after this. Smoke and Ace worked to keep the ship's fraying systems operational. Mac took out Zorgan boarding parties with grim efficiency, but it was Craig who truly shone. His enhanced reflexes and raw physical might turned the tide in dozens of clashes. Bullets pinged off his armor as he crushed Zorgan skulls with his bare hands. As they limped towards Prometheus, a desperate transmission crackled through the static. This is Prometheus Colony. We are under Zorgan attack. They've breached our outer defenses. Help us. Shit, Craig snarled. They must have had a spy in the Idosian ranks. Arm up and get ready for combat drop. The frigate screamed into Prometheus's atmosphere, anti-aircraft fire peppering its shields. Through the viewport, Craig glimpsed the once proud colony razed to rubble. Zorgan dropships disgorged hordes of reptilian warriors, energy blades flashing as they butchered the human defenders. It's a goddamn massacre, Smoke growled. Then let's even the odds, Craig roared. The humans and Idosians piled into a battered dropship, plummeting towards the embattled colony. Craig flexed his armored fists. The stims Pixis had been feeding him had honed his body and mind to a razor's edge. He was a goddamn super soldier now. Time to put it to the test. The ship smashed down in the colony's central plaza. Zorgons swarmed towards it, plasma rifles crackling. Craig was first out the hatch, a one-man army. He moved faster than the eye could follow, ripping through the aliens' ranks like a scythe through wheat. Gunner and the Idosians poured out behind him, energy weapons flaring. Acid green blood splattered the shattered concrete. Smoke lobbed satchel charges into the Zorgon formations, scattering chitin and limbs. Mac picked off officers with headshots. Craig felt the battle rage singing in his veins. He was a blur of destruction, tossing Zorgons aside like rag dolls, pulping them with his fists. His armor ran slick with alien gore. The enemy fell before him like wheat before a thresher. The Idosians rallied behind his charge, energy blades flashing. The Zorgons fell back in disarray before the ferocity of the human super soldier. Craig and his forces punched through to the colony's central command bunker. The heavy blast doors groaned open. A haggard woman in a tattered lab coat stumbled out, a pistol in her shaking hands. At her back huddled a cluster of terrified survivors. Dr. Elizabeth Blackwell, she said, lowering her gun. I was lead scientist on Project Prometheus. We thought we were hidden, safe. Nowhere safe from the Zorgans, Craig growled. What do you have here that's so important? Blackwell beckoned them into the armored depths of the bunker. You must understand the true extent of Prometheus. It's not just research data. We have an army. Behind blast-proof glass, row after row of cryopods stretched into the armored depths. Ghostly figures floated in the bubbling tanks, eyes closed, bodies festooned with tubes and wires. Craig pressed a hand to the glass, eyes wide. My God, are they all like me? Blackwell nodded grimly. Hundreds of them. The pinnacle of the super soldier program. I can wake them. With their strength, we can crush the Zorgons. Hang on, Gunnar said. How do we know these Ubermenschen won't flip out like the ones in that first facility? Blackwell hesitated. There were issues in the past. We've made improvements, but I cannot guarantee their stability. Craig stared into the tanks, indecision twisting his gut. With this army at his back, they could annihilate the Zorgons. But what if Blackwell was wrong? What if he unleashed an uncontrollable force of superhuman killers? He'd be no better than the aliens. Pixis and the Adosian scientists clustered around the control panels, muttering in excitement. Gunnar and Mac looked to him, weapons ready. It was his call. The future of the war against the Zorgons hung in the balance. What should he do? Craig stared at the rows of cryogenic tanks, his jaw tightening. With a curt nod to Dr. Blackwell, he made his decision. Do it. Wake them up. Blackwell's fingers flew over the control panel. Alarms blared as the cryofluid drained from the tanks. Gasps and sputters echoed through the chamber as hundreds of super soldiers took their first breaths in decades. The newly awakened warriors stumbled from their pods, muscles rippling beneath pallid skin. Medics rushed to check vitals and inject stabilizing agents. But as clarity returned to the super soldiers' eyes, a disturbing scene unfolded. Some fell to their knees, clutching their heads, faces contorted in agony. Others lashed out, hurling medics across the room like rag dolls. A towering brute with a shaved head and a cruel sneer shoved his way to the front. I am Marcus Reznov, he bellowed, and I will not be a slave to weak-willed humans or spineless slugs. Reznov's followers rallied behind him, a mob of snarling, enhanced killers. Craig stepped forward, squaring off against the renegade. Stand down, soldier. We're here to fight the Zorgons, not each other. Reznov spat on the floor. The Zorgons, the Adosians, I'll crush you all beneath my boot. We are the future. Whole hell broke loose. Super soldiers loyal to Blackwell clashed with Reznov's rogues in a blurred frenzy of fists and fury. Craig waded into the brawl, cracking skulls and hurling bodies. Gunnar and Mac dove for cover, energy weapons crackling. So much for a united front, Gunnar bellowed over the din. The ground shook as a barrage of plasma artillery struck the bunker's armored shell. Zorgons, Pixis yelled. They've breached the perimeter. On the colony's battle-scarred streets, a fresh wave of reptilian soldiers surged forth, led by a hulking Zorgon in ornate armor, Commander Vorak. The Zorgon's eyes gleamed with malice as he leveled a crackling plasma blade at the bunker. Tear this human filth asunder, Vorak roared. Leave none alive. Loyal Adosians and super soldiers rushed out to meet the attackers, energy blades clashing against plasma rifles. Craig, Pixis, and Blackwell shoved their way through the melee in the cryo chamber. Mac, Gunner, take a squad and flank those bastards, Craig barked into his comms. Smoke Ace, sabotage their heavy artillery. As the team leapt into action, Craig locked eyes with Reznov across the chamber, tensing for another bout. The renegade super soldier barreled towards him, scattering friend and foe alike. Craig charged to meet him, a savage battle cry on his lips. They crashed together like juggernauts, trading earth-shaking blows. Craig's vision flashed red as Reznov's fist crunched into his face. He felt his cheekbone shatter, but the pain only fueled his rage. Craig seized Reznov's arm and wrenched with all his might. Bone snapped, and the renegade howled. Craig followed with a thunderous uppercut, launching Reznov off his feet to crash into a sparking control panel. Reznov stumbled upright, eyes burning with hate. You think you can stop me? I am the pinnacle of human evolution. I will rule this galaxy. Not on my watch, Craig snarled. On the monitors, Mac and Gunner's team danced through the Zorgon ranks, energy weapons flaring. Smoke and Ace darted between the colony's structures, setting demolition charges on the aliens' towering plasma cannons. Vorak's bellow of rage shook the bunker as the charges detonated, sending geysers of flame into the sky. The Zorgon commander beat his armored chest, rallying his troops for a final, brutal push. In the depths of the research lab, Pixis called out to Blackwell. "Doctor, I found something!" The Adosian held up a glowing canister, eyes wide. Blackwell rushed over, grabbing the container with shaking hands. "My God, the Omega Serum. I thought it was just a theory." She turned to Craig, face grim. "This could enhance you beyond anything we've seen, but the side effects, madness, cellular breakdown, it's a devil's bargain." Craig looked from Blackwell to the raging battle outside, jaw clenched. Reznov prowled closer, a vicious grin splitting his face. The bunker shook as the Zorgons unleashed another devastating barrage. Time was running out. He had to make a choice, risk it all on Dr. Blackwell's miracle serum, or face the Zorgons and Reznov as he was, a battered super soldier standing against the coming storm. The fate of Prometheus and the galaxy hung in the balance. Craig stared at the glowing canister in Dr. Blackwell's hands, his mind racing. The bunker shook violently as the Zorgons unleashed another barrage of plasma artillery. Reznov prowled closer, a sadistic grin on his face. "We're out of time," Blackwell said urgently. "The Omega Serum is your only chance against Reznov and the Zorgons." Pixis nodded. "She's right, we have to take the risk." Craig set his jaw and rolled up his sleeve. "Do it." Blackwell loaded the serum into an injector and plunged the needle into Craig's arm. Icy fire raced through his veins as the formula took hold. His muscles swelled with power, his senses sharpening to impossible levels. The pain of his wounds faded away. Reznov charged with a roar, but to Craig, the renegade super soldier seemed to be moving in slow motion. Craig sidestepped the attack effortlessly and delivered a devastating punch to Reznov's face. Bones shattered under his fist. Reznov flew back and crashed through the bunker wall. Craig leaped after him, moving faster than the eye could follow. He rained down a flurry of blows, pummeling Reznov into a bloody pulp. On the battlefield outside, the tide turned as Craig tore into the Zorgon ranks. Plasma bolts bounced harmlessly off his skin as he ripped the aliens limb from limb. Vorak's troops fell back in terror before his onslaught. "Impossible," Vorak snarled. "All forces retreat." As the Zorgons fled, a series of deafening explosions rocked the colony. The ground heaved and buckled, buildings collapsing into rubble. Vorak's mocking laughter echoed over the comms. "If we can't have the super soldier technology, no one will," the Zorgon commander sneered. "I've rigged this whole colony to blow. Enjoy your tomb, humans." Craig sprinted back to the command bunker, where Blackwell, Pixis, and the surviving scientists were scrambling to evacuate. "We need to get everyone out of here, now!" He scooped up an injured Adosian and slung him over his shoulders. Mac and Gunner herded the scientist towards the hangar bay, where Smoke and Ace had commandeered a transport shuttle. Chunks of ferrocrete rained down around them as they dashed aboard. Pixis and Blackwell worked frantically to hotwire the engines. With a roar of thrusters, the ship blasted free of the exploding colony. As they cleared the atmosphere, another ship decloaked in front of them, Vorak's cruiser. The Zorgon commander's face filled the viewscreen, twisted in hate. "You think you've won, Craig?" Vorak hissed. "You've only delayed the inevitable. The Zorgon Empire will never stop until we've wiped your pathetic species from the galaxy." Craig glared back defiantly. "We'll see about that." Vorak cut the transmission with a snarl. His cruiser opened fire, lances of plasma hammering their shields. Pixis jinked and wove, trying to evade the onslaught. "I can't shake him," the Adosian pilot cried. Craig unbuckled from his crash chair. "Get us in close. I'll deal with Vorak personally." Ignoring the cries of protest from his team, Craig sealed himself in an EVA suit and cycled the airlock. As their battered transport careened towards Vorak's ship, he leaped out into the void. Thrusters flaring, Craig arrowed through space towards the Zorgon cruiser. Plasma turrets swiveled to target him, but he was too fast, jinking and dodging with superhuman agility. He slammed into the hull and ripped open an airlock with his bare hands. Alarms blared as Craig stormed onto the bridge, a tornado of destruction. Zorgon crew scurried for cover, firing wildly. Vorak rose from his command chair, drawing a crackling disruptor blade. "You dare face me alone?" the alien sneered. "I'm all it will take," Craig growled. They met in a clash of fists and blades, smashing through consoles in a storm of sparks. Vorak was a veteran of 100 campaigns, his reflexes and strength augmented by Zorgon battle drugs. But even he was no match for Craig's Omega-enhanced might. Again and again, Craig's fists slammed into Vorak's armor, denting and cracking the alloyed plates. The Zorgon commander staggered back, ichor leaking from a dozen wounds. With a final, earth-shattering punch, Craig sent Vorak flying across the bridge to crash into the viewport. The Zorgon slid to the deck, coughing up gouts of blood. "How?" he croaked. "How can you defeat the Zorgon Empire?" "You made one mistake," Craig said coldly. "You underestimated humanity." He raised his fist for the killing blow, only to hear Pixis cry out behind him. Craig spun to see the Adosian stumble onto the bridge, clutching a gaping wound in his side. Vorak, forgotten, lunged from the floor, his disruptor blade flashing. Time seemed to slow as Craig whirled back, reaching desperately. His fingers closed around Vorak's blade arm just before the crackling edge found his throat. The Zorgon commander snarled in Craig's face, straining with all his might to drive the weapon home and end the human's life. Muscles bulging with strain, Craig forced the blade back inch by hard-fought inch. Vorak's eyes widened in disbelief as the human's strength proved greater than his own. With a final, wrenching twist, Craig snapped the Zorgon's arm like a twig and buried the disruptor blade in Vorak's chest. The commander convulsed, ichor bubbling from his lipless mouth, and slid off the blade to the deck. Craig let the corpse fall and rushed to Pixis's side, cradling the wounded Adosian. "You're going to be okay," Craig said desperately, trying to staunch the bleeding. "Stay with me." Pixis shook his head weakly, his face pale. "It's too late for me, my friend. You must finish what we started. Unite the races of the galaxy against the Zorgons. Only together can we defeat them." Pixis's hand reached up to grip Craig's, his blood-stained fingers trembling. "I believe in you, Craig. I always did." The light faded from the Adosian's eyes and his hand went limp. Craig bowed his head, tears streaking his battle-scarred face. Gently, he laid Pixis down on the deck plates. "I won't let you down," he whispered. "I swear it." The bridge was a shattered ruin, the viewports looking out on the stars. In the distance, the fiery remains of Prometheus' colony glowed against the void, a funeral pyre for a dream of unity and power. Craig's jaw set as he stared out at the galaxy that had taken so much from him. Friends, comrades, innocence beyond count. The Zorgon Empire was still out there, waiting to consume everything in its path. But they wouldn't be waiting long. Craig would bring the fight to them, rally the downtrodden races of 100 worlds, and forge an alliance to break the Zorgon's cruel dominion. Whatever the cost, however long it took, he would see justice done. For he was more than a soldier now, more than human. He was an army unto himself, a legend in the making. He was the Prometheus unbound. Turning from the viewport, Craig squared his shoulders and marched from Vorak's ruined bridge into the uncertain future. No matter the odds, no matter the foe, he would never stop fighting for the dream that Pixis and so many others had died to protect. The galaxy would be free. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.